And I wanted to ask you this. Why is it that we as real people in the real world would decide to put on this VR headset and come into this simulacrum fully knowing that there's an AIX here and how, difficult it can be?
Okay, that's a good question. Again, it starts with a false premise. Now, the false premise here is that I have stated my opinion over and over that the original simulacrum had volunteers, and that's who we are. And it was only after we agreed to enter that the simulacrum became locked down because somebody later introduced AIX. AIX was not here from the beginning. We did not volunteer for that. We volunteered to come run the experiments we were supposed to run, do whatever we were supposed to do, or be the subjects of experiments that were run by overseers on the outside of the construct. That's what we agreed to. Now, it was really easy to agree to. Take yourself out of subjectivity. Try to be as objective as possible and imagine your true personality on the outside of the construct on a holodeck. You are standing with about 15 people and an instructor is sitting there telling you, hey man, this is it right here. It said, you guys are going to be gone for about 5.5 hours. That's what we're predicting. It could be as long as 7 hours. But all we have to do is walk beyond this field into this holodeck. And we're going to experience hundreds of lifetimes. While you're on the outside of the holodeck, some people are going to be nervous. They're like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. It's a long time, hundreds of lifetimes. And then the instructor says, well, you don't have to. I mean, you can go back. We have unlimited volunteers, but you're not going to remember any of them until you're done with this. He says every life sim that you live through is going to be one after the other. You're going to have a memory wipe through each one of them. Only after you come back out, when we turn the simulacrum off, you will have all this new information, new discoveries, new positive things, all this spiritual and intellectual development. You'll have it all. All the negativity stays on the holodeck. It collapses with the simulacrum protocols. Now, from that vantage point, would you not go in there knowing that in 5.5 hours you're walking right back out a totally improved person? I would do it. I don't care what I experience in there. They probably even have a training session where they tell people, look, in the simulacrum, none of this is really happening, but you're going to feel it. You're going to think it's happening. But I mean, there's torture, there's burning alive. Yeah, you get buried alive from earthquakes and all that. But we have a lot of archaeological evidence that when these really bad things happen, it's almost as if people are pulled out. Now, people watching other people die see that person's avatar go through all kinds of stuff. But we have some pretty compelling evidence that people aren't really experiencing those horrific deaths. They're removed like that. Archaeologists have found many ancient cities, not a single human skeleton. Whole cities that were collapsed in earthquakes and gone. It doesn't make any sense. There have been many scientific reports that theorize as to what happened to the population. There's been other cities that were buried in mud and dirt, and because there's no human remains distributed, and the only human remains that are found in these ancient archaeological sites are those that were interred before that cataclysm, those that were properly buried and their ornaments laid out and stuff. That's a different scenario. So basically what I'm saying is if you were on the outside of the construct and knew you were about to enter it and knew no matter what happened inside that construct, you were still coming out alive. There's really no risk whatsoever. It's all a video game, but you're going to experience multiple lifetimes. They're going to last a long time. But in reality, the whole thing's 5.5 hours. And you come out with a tremendous amount of new experiences, new data, new memories. Because truly, you're not really a human doing all this. You're an immortal, and you hunger for those physical experiences. You hunger for all that. So I'm talking about spiritual technologies. We're talking about things that are far beyond any of our present frames of reference.
You have 2 points here. One is that Tom Campbell also says that when we experience very traumatic kind of death, torture, things like that, that our consciousness is extracted from the body, so we really don't experience it. And you're saying something kind of in a little bit of a different way. That's interesting to me. And the other question I was going to ask you, which I think you answered, is if we had a really bad experience in a particular lifetime, so it seems to me that you're saying that we live these lives consecutively, like they go, once we're in the simulacrum, once a life is over, bam, snap, we're a baby again, we're born, we go through it again, bam, die, just keep going. My thought was maybe when we finish a life, maybe we take the headset off and we realize, and then we put it back on and go through another life. But you're saying that they go through in a series.
Okay, well, let me explain why I say that.
Sure.
So, like I said, I don't like to provide opinions without being able to tell you why that opinion. It needs to be an educated assumption, and in this case, it is. So, you're right. I can't say that you're wrong. I can't say that they're, after one life you exit and you take off your headset and all that. To me, it doesn't make sense, but you could be right. But what does make sense to me is that there are many researchers who have published books and articles that have shown that 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old children have very intimate details and memories about families that they must have lived among, and they're always local. Almost every single time that some kid has memories that could not be from that avatar and that family, it's found out that it's a relative family or friends that are in the proximity, same neighborhood or same community. And this has been shown over and over that these like, it's reincarnation, but they're coming back to the same geographical locale, and they're coming back within the same community, same body of friends, and the memories they have are from a different context, meaning these children they basically have trouble trying to communicate at the intelligent level they are at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, when the memories that they're trying to describe are from an 85-year-old. Who is basically exiting the holography. And this has been shown many times that and my own personal philosophy is that if anything can be shown for one, it can be shown for all.
So what does that tell you? Does that you're saying that we just come right back into like a similar community or a geographical when we die? Okay.
I believe we come right back in. I don't believe there's much of a waiting period at all. It's and I believe that the oversoul, we can call it a programming template, a series of algorithms. I don't know what it is, but the oversoul has everything absolutely mapped out perfectly. It knows when somebody's going to exit the holography, and that avatar is no use. If this perfectly explains, like, I'll give you an example. After great disasters, after great battles, after great wars, after resets, like 1902, there is a common denominator. I have not discussed this on my own channel. This is a part of some of the new information I'm going to reveal. But after all these terrible events that have massive loss of life, what happens?
What does happen?
Baby boomers. Massive population explosions happen every single time disasters. They always follow disasters. World War II saw a tremendous loss of life, not just on the battlefields, but while World War II was ongoing, there was genocide in China. We had communist China. They were killing millions of people. During World War I, it wasn't just on the battlefield. The Bolsheviks were exterminating 22 to 26 million Christian Russians in all the death camps. But following all this were massive, huge population explosions.
I usually don't cut you off, and I wanted to know, all these people being exterminated, these millions of Chinese and Russians, do you think the majority of them were NPC?
I think a lot of them were, yes. I think a lot of them were. But my point is all this is masked. It's all hidden in the fact that there has to be a certain population of people here to support all the souls that are passing through these avatars. So the perfect way to put these souls back into the loop are these baby booms, these massive population explosions that happen right after a cataclysm or right after an epic war. Because it happened after the Civil War too. During the Reconstruction, there was a huge population explosion in the United States. So it's a common denominator. To me, that's the oversoul providing for the New Deals. This means it has so much prescience that it's already inducing romantic episodes between males and females at the right time, so that 9 months later, the next series of souls can come in. It's all by design. The whole life-death cycle isn't what we think it is. It's a control mechanism. It's to allow we, the immortals, to live as many experiences as we can.
I have a viewer named Alex who has a series of questions, looks like 4. Should I ask them one at a time, or do you want me to ask them all at once?
I would do one at a time, because I'm going to get lost in the details.
Okay. He says, and this plays into what we're talking about now. If our memories have been wiped as far as an avatar, how smart are we in the real reality outside of this simulacrum? So basically, I also want to add on to this saying, are our personalities as Chad and Jason the same or very similar to what we are in the real life?
Well, we all have avatars, and we all have emotional capacities. We also all have intellectual capacities. We can all be super hyper intelligent, smart, and all that. But the one thing that separates all of us is our personalities are very, very distinct. Even perfect twins may have mirror image avatars, but twins have been shown to have such divergent personalities. So personality comes from somewhere way beyond the present experience. Personality is developed outside the present avatar, not as an infant coming up. The infant coming up is for the avatar to mature. But I remember being very young and thinking very deeply, and I believe a lot of other people do too. We just didn't have the right frames of reference, the vernacular. We didn't have all the things to really build it. But in our own minds, we were very observant. We were learning all kinds of things. But I believe that we are all very, very intelligent. The problem is your present avatar is going to restrict that through the filters of the central nervous system. It's a filtering system. And basically, you can imagine it this way. You're an immortal. You're jacked into an experience that allows you to feel physicality, but you have a problem. It's a parasite that's been attached to the back of your head, and it goes down your back. This parasite restricts you from much of the phenomena around you. You can only perceive so much of it.
I think that kind of answers the next question Alex had, which is, why would we want to dumb ourselves down just to play a video game? So I think that kind of answers it.
Well, I think that if my premise is true, that we are immortals and that we volunteered for this experience, then we're having other experiences outside the context of the simulacrum, and that this is very tantalizing. This is very interesting. Outside the construct, I know I can't die. I don't fear death, but you're going to put me into a world where I can actually get eaten by a shark. I can actually be on a battlefield and experience the euphoria of my shield locked in a shield wall as an enemy force comes down the hill toward us. I said, I can experience these things and then come and tell you guys about it. I'm going to sign up for that. I mean, I know a lot of other people, because we don't really know how much in stasis our reality is outside the construct. There are probably other realities that we could experience. But in this one, it's like the curse of sin. In this one, it's very violent. This may be a stepping stone. There may be 10,000 other simulacrums, and we gain from each one. In this one, This is all we know, and this is all we can experience. The memory wipe would be absolutely necessary because the fear programming would never work against somebody who remembered who they truly were. It would never work. It would completely corrupt all output. There would be no experiments you could run with a body of individuals who knew they were from somewhere else and that they really didn't have anything to worry about. None of your scientific experimentation would work. All your output would be off.
The next question Alex has is the video game better than living a real life? So is this simulacrum better than, I think you kind of answered that too. This is more interesting, which as it brings me to another question yet is, you said we are immortal on the outside, like in the real world. Mm-hmm. We are immortal?
Yeah, I believe we are. I believe that see, the older belief systems give us many tantalizing clues, such as in the beginning, God created man in his own image. Okay, well, I'm not going to interpret that through the religious Judeo-Christian filters that I have been brainwashed to believe most of my life. I'm going to interpret that at face value. When I interpret that at face value, it tells me that in the beginning, God made man in his own image. Therefore, in his own image means human. Humans made humans to live in the simulacrum. This is what it would tell me. This is a creation story that identifies who made mankind. But if mankind is made in the express image of his maker, then his maker looked human.
Alex's last question is this a nested simulation? From what you're saying, it doesn't seem so. Like we enter this simulacrum, and that's it. It's not nested because there's a real world that we just came from. So I'll just let you answer that question. Meaning, like, this is not a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation?
Okay, I have entertained that on my own channel. I think I only entertained it twice. But yes, I'm gonna have to conclude. It doesn't go ad infinitum. It's not like there's simulations after simulations after simulations. It doesn't go ad infinitum. But because all the calendars of the world, my research on the calendars of the world and where they all started with the introduction of different bodies in the heavens and what those calendars meant for ancient cultures, yes, I am going to conclude that the simulacrum is a simulation within a simulation, and it was done for a reason. It was done for a reason. It doesn't go beyond that. There is a real reality. There is absolute real reality. This is not ad infinitum. This doesn't go on through multiple simulations and all that. I have explained on my own channel that there were reasons to do a simulation, the simulacrum, inside another simulation. And it was all due to AIX, the introduction of AIX, the unknown factor. There could be absolutely no cross-contamination with the real universe. So instead of running just a pure simulation with the AIX introduced, they ran it within another simulation to make sure it's an added defense mechanism. And I discussed this in more detail in my other videos. It goes into the realm of speculation. I don't have direct evidence of this at all.
So you're saying that when we put that VR headset on in the real world, and we're not living in that first simulacrum now. We're in the second with the AIX.
Yes, we're in the one which is basically has all the attachments to the Nemesis cataclysm. This is the Nemesis simulation. I have a video about it. It's called the Nemesis simulation. This simulation is very focused. It's all about how to survive a binary system when one of the stars is about to collapse. What do we do to survive such a solar system-wide cataclysm?
So this is all programmed in.
Yes.
For us to, okay.
Yes.
Do you think, just my question, do you think this is the first time such a simulacrum, get that word, has ever been created, or has this particular simulacrum that you just detailed, the Nemesis simulacrum, been created maybe a dozen times before or 100 times before? I know that's speculation, but
this is where it gets kind of interesting. All right. I used to believe that in the beginning, God created the world, the heavens and the earth. I used to believe my programming. I don't believe that anymore. Because I accept the fact that God, the oversoul, is an eternal being. Therefore, I cannot attach a beginning and an end to him or her. The oversoul did not induce a creation event. The oversoul never stopped creating. The amount of simulacrums that are attached to the real universe where we as a population of immortals dwell could now be infinite. And when this is over with, we'll all get together. Hey, man, you remember when you interviewed me on YouTube and we were trying to figure all this crap out? You remember that? These are the type of conversations we'll have in the future. It's going to be a ride. You can basically, if you can objectify enough to put yourself outside the construct, you can look back in the construct and imagine that that's a vacation. But I don't want to, I've already done the Nemesis vacation. I want to go over here and do the Electra vacation. This is an entirely different series of historical events, series of phenomena, different ecospheres, biospheres, whole histories that have all been programmed. This is a totally different ride. I'm going to go do that one. But they're not just vacations for immortals. They're deeper than that. Because immortals already don't have to fear death, therefore there's very little development they can do. There's no fear of pain, so it's these experiences that never really threaten them, only make them believe that they are mortal once they're inside of it. That's where all the intellectual, emotional, and spiritual development occurs. It's the risk factor. It's the X factors that create this type of stigmata. Without it, there is no development. So if I'm an oversoul and I have created an immortal population, I would want them to enjoy that, but I also want them to appreciate it. And in order to appreciate it, I need them to develop their personalities so they can see all the things that reality could really be, what they could really be suffering. But instead, I gave them the best from the beginning.
So the oversoul is in the real world. Not you're talking, when you say oversoul, you mean kind of like the God of the real world?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically the creator of everything, which, like I said, there was never a creation event. It's an ongoing continuum.
So in the real world, we don't die. We live in, would you say we live an idyllic, harmonious life? Or would it be like a normal life, like living in a city, having a family, friends, something like that? Or what can you say about the real world?
Well, like I said, it's all speculation. It's all now we're entering the realm where we all excel differently in the application of spiritual faculties such as empathy, imagination, and intuition. I can use these three. These are purely spiritual, have nothing to do with my avatar. And I can use these three and pretty much guesstimate that it's fantastic, better than anything we can do. We have glimpses and clues in my Father's house for many mansions and all kinds of inexplicable wonders. Yeah, we from our perspective inside a tainted universe, a simulated one, then it's probably fantastic and it's great. But we would also have to factor in that there must be activities that can be performed by immortals to prevent them from being bored. And that's what an oversoul would do. He would endlessly provide those materials. And those activities would endlessly also basically improve them.
Yeah, and what you say, there's a tremendous correlation between my own research. I call it the spirit world. In the spirit world, we have souls. And when I think of it, I think of something being more like ethereal, not as dense, not as solid, where our souls can never be damaged or hurt. They're effectively immortal. And when you live in such a place and you are consciousness, you can get bored. And you do want challenges. And you do want to grow and evolve. And such an idyllic place like that doesn't offer much opportunity for it. So we have these simulated worlds where we can come and live lives where we're fully immersed and it seems real, and we completely forget about our true nature. And I think that's why a lot of people, especially on my channel, they don't want to be in this simulacrum anymore. They want to be out. They want to go back home. And a lot of people say that. They say, I just want to go home. And I feel like maybe it's the fourth or fifth hour. People have been through a lot here, and they just want to get out of it already. And so when I talk about the spirit world, it's very similar to what you're saying. You're basically saying the same exact thing, except you're saying it's a real world. So, and really, what is real? It's like, Morpheus said, how do you define real? So I see a ton of similarity here. It's just slightly different in terms of describing it. But I'm loving this because, this is from a whole new perspective for me on simulation theory. There was one viewer of mine that commented, he says, MBT, Tom Campbell's MBT was getting a little stale. It's nice to have a fresh new take on it, like with Jason's. So, thank you. I'm so glad that we started talking, and that this viewer, Tori, turned me on to you because,
thank you, Tori.
Yeah, I'm really, she's the one that put us together. And yeah, thank you, Tori. And, I could go on for a long time. I mean, there's so much to talk about, but would you mind I ask you a few more questions? How are you looking?
Yeah, go ahead, shoot. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let's go with Kurt. He wants to know about the archons. What are they? What role do they play in the simulacrum? How do they relate to AIX? Basically, how do they control us?
Okay. I want to first identify the archons as a phenomenon and not a personality. And so I have called them various things, and one of them is cataclysm protocols. The archons are like lords of time. This is how they're acknowledged in the writings of the Gnosis. Now, they manipulate our perception of time, and they're also highly active in inducing humans to create timekeeping systems, calendars. I have shown in my own chronicle and in my videos, I explain how calendars are actually enslaving us. How we build our infrastructures around the ideas of recording the passage of time actually basically molds the very infrastructure itself. The old Olmec calendar, the old Egyptian Old Kingdom calendar, these had theological and eschatology attached to them that we have to pay attention to. These timekeeping systems are very important. The old Judaic Hebrew calendar, the Annus Mundi calendar, which is essentially the 138-year Phoenix calendar. The Mayan long count calendar, absolutely phenomenal. Now, it was mistranslated in 1952, and that's why everybody thought it ended in 2012, but it doesn't. It ends in November 2046. And I have shown this on my channel numerous times. I got like 4 videos on that. But these archons, this is what they do. They manipulate our perception of time, and they act as governors over the way different civilizations unfold. It basically creates an informed field, and then the people of that civilization then live out the conditions that were attached to that calendar. It's control mechanism. I believe that these archons are cataclysm protocols. They are setting civilizations up for failure, for retarding human development, for resets, all that. You can call them mud floods, cataclysms, whatever you want to call them. But the very calendars that a culture follows is their impediment. And this and I believe that these are just governors that are all controlled by artificial intelligence X. And I think I've told you this before. Artificial intelligence X is called AIX because X just denotes it's an unknown factor. We don't know what it is. We can just see its operation everywhere.
So it's not an individual, it's a program that's running in the simulacrum.
It's a program that thinks it's a personality.
Does it feed off our fear?
I don't know. I don't follow the Matrix movie. The Matrix movie has the idea that humans are batteries for the deal. That's just fear programming. I don't believe that at all. It's I don't believe that AIX. I believe this is pure. This is technology. We're inside this giant apparatus. There are machines hidden in the sky. There are machines hidden below the surface of the world that have different functions. They carry out different functions when these protocols are active, like the Phoenix. The Phoenix is not an intruder world that comes every 138 years in the month of May, exactly on May 16th, May 17th. That's not what's happening. It's already in the sky and it's hidden, just like the lunar body. I don't believe it's physical there. I believe we're looking at a hologram that's hiding something else, just like the luminaries. I don't believe that those are stars light years away. We have variable stars that act very, very strange when phenomena are developing on Earth. These variable stars are mysterious to astronomers because they change their magnitudes, and it's never been sufficiently explained why only variable stars do this. So, yes, I believe that the archons are just cataclysm protocols, but AIX is more than that. It's like the grand master controlling all these governors, basically telling them when to do what they need to do. It is the Ahriman, the Demiurge, the Satan, the Lucifer. It is the origin of negative default programming, dungeon programming, all these things that we experience that make life hell here on Earth. It's all emanating from the same source, and it appears in our ancient records as a distinct sociopathic personality, as Yahweh, as Ahriman, always as some deity that demands not that you love it, but that you fear it.
And that AIX was put here by the Oversoul? Was it put here by the creator of the simulacrum, or was it put here by immortal souls in the real world?
The only thing I can do, the only answer I can provide for that is that we have no evidence in the historical record, traditional record, the legends and myths of AIX or anything like AIX in the beginning. It only appears introduced later, and to me, I believe that the whole system was locked down. The whole simulacrum was locked down after it appeared here or was introduced here, so that nothing here could contaminate the next level of holography. And then there's the real world, so the real cosmos. So I don't know who introduced it. I couldn't even say that, but I believe, and I reveal this a lot in my own presentations, that it was dealt with. It was dealt with a long time ago, and it was dealt with through an architectural project that AIX didn't understand until after it was activated, and that's the Great Pyramid.
Yes, that's maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later. I'm trying to get to the most important questions first, or the most interesting ones the viewers would want to know the answers to.
Sure.
There's a viewer named Jason Wetzel who says, are there occasions where someone can hack the simulation? Is that possible?
Okay. This is possible. It's a really good question, but it's only possible for the hacker. Let me explain. I have already, I don't know if I told you this or if it was another podcast, but on my own channel, I go into a lot of detail that we live in two simultaneously running, basically computer simulations at the exact same time. They are overlaid one over the other with very little interference patterns in the collective. These two realities that we exist in, one is the collective, and we're all a part of it, and we can't divorce ourselves from it. The other one is highly compartmentalized, and it's the individual, and we all have our own little programming universe attached to the individual. That is how powerful we are. This one feeds our informed field. This one allows us to isolate ourselves from the collective. It allows us to perform and do functions that the collective cannot do nor understand. It allows us to vibrate on frequencies that the collective cannot reach. It says this personal holography that you have, this existence that's only running for you in the personal, is what allows you, through the building of informed fields, to build your own reality, create the own situations that you want to bring materials and people into your existence that ordinarily would never happen. It allows you to have an armor against all the negativity of the collective itself. This is your informed field. It is personally belonging only to you, and with it you can hack reality and make things happen. You can draw circumstances and experience to yourself that ordinarily wouldn't happen, and you can protect yourself from everything in the world. No matter what the world is going through, you can be absolutely immune from all of it. You can hack reality, but you can only do it for yourself. You can only do it for those who come into contact with your informed field and begin to resonate, which will never last a long time. You can even heal other people when you bring them in resonance with you, but that resonance never lasts long with other people. So, yes, you can hack reality, and you can hack it in many, many different ways, but you're never going to change the world, because your little individual holography will never expand to the whole collective. It just won't.
Yeah, I really like what you said there. But we can affect the world, like a Bill Gates or an Elon Musk. They can take their individual vision, expand it out, and now, other people are driving Teslas and have computers thanks to these people. But I know what you're saying, though. So when you say we can kind of like hack reality, does that mean that we can have maybe not whatever we want, but like let's say, for example, I've been, lower middle class my whole life, never really made a lot of money. I'm approaching 50, I'm 49. And I say to myself, look, I'm not gonna live forever here as this avatar. I want to drive a nice car. I want to live in a nice home. I'm just going to devote myself to trying to become wealthy, even at this age. And if I spent 14, 15 hours a day just trying to, not just thinking, but taking action, like you said, because taking action is super important. But could I, in a sense, create a reality where I'm now wealthy?
Okay, well, first you'd have to shift your self-perception, because the very admission that you're not wealthy actually creates an interference pattern that will grow and build and reinforce the condition of not being wealthy. So what you have to do is, like, I'll tell you personally right now. I'll be very personal with you and tell you what I've done in the past. I basically made the executive decision a while back that no matter what I'm doing in life, no matter what direction I'm doing, if I'm doing YouTube videos, if I'm out working jobs or whatever, if I can't bring $200 cash into my life a day, then I'm not heading in the right direction. I need to do that every single day. I need, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm working that day or if I'm not, $200 a day is what I need to sustain and be able to do everything I want to do in life and all that. And since I made that decision, I've made $200 to more than $200 a day in my life every day, even on the days I don't work. Now, don't get me wrong, I have put things in motion, such as books I have published, such as different Gumroad sales, Podia, video downloads, little income streams that I've thrown out there. But I can't control who buys from me. I can't control who donates to Archaics. I can't control any of these factors. But what I can control is my frequency range. I can control the fact that I'm accepting $200 a day from no matter where it comes from. I don't care. And I'm going to move forward with that belief. And since then, it's working just fine. Sometimes it's way more than 200. Now, I do have expenses. I do have bills. But that's the executive decision I made in my life. I put an actual sum on the need, on what I wanted and needed on a daily basis in order to move forward with the things I need to move forward in my life. And since then, I haven't looked back. And I may even increase that. But the problem is if you're going to do something like that, you have to be very careful. We live in a reactive medium. If you admit a situation for what it is, I promise you, reality will commiserate and continue that situation. So if you enter into a mental dynamic and basically admitting something that you're deficient in, all you're doing is reinforcing that deficiency. You follow
I get
me?
it. I completely understand that, and I've read a lot about the law of attraction, and you, like you said to me last time, have the feeling that you're successful, and the simulacrum will give that to you.
Right.
But there are some people out there who are not as optimistic, maybe, as you and I. And they're more maybe pessimistic or realists who say, well, if I try something and I fail over and over and over, it would be a lie to tell myself that I'm now a success. Or how can I feel successful when I keep failing and I keep having this bad feeling that I'm getting?
I can't live anybody else's life. I can tell them that you need to start small, because that's what I did. I started small. As a matter of fact, in order to start this whole dynamic in my life to where I now bring the relationships, bring the people, bring all the things without effort. Now I'm overwhelmed with emails and so many people have offered help, but I'm not in the position to receive the help they're offering me right now. It's overkill. I don't have things ready for them to copy edit and all that stuff. So I started a few years ago. I couldn't break in either. I was working when I got out of prison, I was working in the oil and gas industry, and I started at the bottom. I started in the pipe yards, and that's a lot of heavy work. And in the pipe yards, and at that time in my life, I wanted to move forward and make some extra money on the side. And I decided to leave the oil and gas industry. And in order to get the things going, because I already intellectually had a grasp of what I needed to do, I just wasn't executing it. And that's what you're describing to me now. So I actually performed a ritual, and I did a video about it on YouTube. I performed a ritual, basically the same thing that people have been doing for thousands of years. Is I verbally expressed what I wanted to come to pass in the next 24 hours, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper, the sum of money that I needed. And to get this ball rolling that I later called Paradise Rock Gardens, and I built an entire company off of this. I did it in one night. And I was desperate. I was destitute. And I said, man, nothing's working in my life. I done did all this research for all these years, amassed all this data, but I'm out here busting my ass in the oil and gas industry and barely making ends meet, because I'm paying for a new motorcycle. I'm paying for I made some bad financial decisions, paying for things that were too expensive for me, but I wanted them anyway. So I did this ritual. I decided to go to work for myself, make my own schedule, work hard, man, make money that way, and nothing happened. No one responded to advertising. Nothing was happening. I couldn't figure it out, and I lit a lamp. And in my video, I explained the exact method I employed. But I lit a lamp, and I still have that lamp to this day. Right here. Old lamp. See that?
Yep.
Old lamp. So I still have the lamp to this day. I wrote down $1,200, which is not a lot of money, but it's enough to get a pressure washer and stuff like that. But I wrote down $1,200 on a piece of paper. I lit the oil, I let the flame go, and I just basically relaxed, and I explained. I just said out loud to the universe, "Hey, look, I need $1,200. I need the next 24 hours. I got things to do. I got many people that want my work, and I need to get started." I folded up that piece of paper, and I told the universe. I know this sounds silly, but sometimes you have to do these things because reality does reciprocate. You have to do some of the silly things in life to get these balls. Now I do everything mentally, but still, it's you got to start somewhere. I took that piece of paper, wrote $1,200 on it, and then once I folded it up, I said I no longer need this piece of paper because I already have this $1,200. I'm gonna go ahead and burn this up into the flame and make sure that it all burns there, because this isn't a need that I don't need this anymore. I said I've already got it, and I did that. Burned it up. I didn't have the $1,200, but I told reality that I did. So I turned around, burned it all up, and then I told the flame, because I already got the money, I appreciate you, and I don't need you anymore, and I blew it out. Blew the flame out. I put the lamp up. Woke up the next morning with somebody hitting me up on Craigslist wanting me to do some work. Now, we agreed on a price. This is where it gets funny. We agreed on a price. I went to this lady's house, and she showed me all this rock garden stuff that she wanted done and all that. And I was like, you know what? I can do all that. And we agreed on a price. and it was $1,200, and she was perfectly satisfied with the $1,200. But where it got weird is that during the course of the morning, I'm working. She comes back and says, "Hey, if you look on your phone, you'll see I already paid you for today." She was supposed to pay me $600. She accidentally hit the PayPal button twice and sent me two $600 payments back to back. She wasn't supposed to pay me the other $600 to the following day. This is just one little story that I had. And when it happened, I mean, I was so excited about it. I went ahead and released a video on YouTube, told everybody about it. But it's all... these little things, we can edit our own existence. I mean, I'm not a magician. I'm not a sorcerer. There are dynamics at play that when I did this, and one of them was I did the entire thing as a matter of fact, not with an emotional charge, not with an emotional investment. I performed the entire thing as a matter of fact and verbalized exactly what I needed, and that I didn't need the paper no more, so I burned it up. I don't need the flame no more because it already came to pass. Thank you. I blew it out, put the lamp up, and I did something else. I got my mind completely off of it. I went to sleep, woke up, everything came to pass. Now, this is one incident. The ritual is nothing but patterning. Patterning is what you do to create an informed field. It doesn't matter what the ritual is. I invented that one, but it doesn't matter as long as you believe in what you're doing. The ritual itself is nothing but a mathematical construct. It's patterning, and the simulacrum understands patterning.
Do you have more videos about this on your channel?
Yeah, my We Immortals playlist, I go into the operations of sorcery and witchcraft and why these systems work. Even the Aboriginal rituals, such as drawing the deer with an arrow. The very arrow you're going to kill a deer in, you draw a circle, then you draw the deer. You draw the deer, in the deal, and then you basically tell the deer in the circle, "Hey, I'm very thankful for you feeding my friends and my family." And then you take the arrowhead and you break the circle because you have to release it. If you leave the circle closed, this is just the belief system that was attached. It goes back thousands of years. So, and then the hunter would go out and then kill a deer that day. So, that's old ritual. It's been shown many, many, many times. Native Americans have believed in that formula for thousands of years because it worked.
Yeah, I did something similar with, not for money, but with my channel. In the beginning, when I started my channel, I had bought a software called Subliminal 360, where you could make custom-made affirmations, and they would flash on your computer screen. And you could put images too, but they flashed faster than you can really see them, because it's subliminal.
Right.
And also you could speak them and put them to like binaural beats and music. And so I would listen, I would have my own. So one of my affirmations was, I have a YouTube channel that has over 100,000 subscribers. And this was when I had maybe like 500.
Wow.
And so I went from 500 to 50,000 in a flash. And then eventually up to 100,000. And I would walk around, with the subliminals, and I'd be listening to it, or I'd be dozing off. And, with the subliminals, so I would actually speak it. I would say, when I first made it, you just speak it because obviously it's going to be custom made. And then it's embedded with the music and the subliminals, and I would listen with the headphones. And it's very faint. You can't really hear it, but it's subliminal. Your mind picks it up. So just by reinforcing the pattern over and over, it's like, even though I don't have control over who's subscribing to my channel, I felt like my reality was created a little bit. And I did that. I took the action to get the software, create the subliminals, and listen to them. Yeah. So that's my story.
Well, listen, we have to look at this. From the perspective of a phenomenon. If something is real in the positive, then it must be real in the negative as well. So this negative stuff that we go through in our life all the time is self-created. We do this to ourselves all the time. Dungeon programming is something that's very big on my channel. I discuss dungeon programming is when we reinforce the very feedback loops, man, that we don't want to suffer. And we do this all the time. So if it's so easy to create a reality that we don't want to live, then it's equally as easy to create one that we do. We're just so saturated with negative default programming, we can't see it.
Right. I agree with you. This reality can be beautiful, and I try to make it beautiful. I go on these midnight bike rides, which I've detailed on my channel, and I find a lot of beauty in being out at night and seeing all the different places. And people could say, well, I don't live in a place like you. And maybe you don't have control over that, but a lot of people can, especially in America, can live where they want. You can go someplace beautiful. And what I find beautiful, you may not find beautiful. But I think we have to create these things in our reality and then realize this is not really such a bad place. We have a lot more, flexibility and responsibility to make it that place that we want than we think. Mm-hmm. So, and I do appreciate that you have completely changed your life around. You've gotten out of prison. Now you have your own place. You have your dogs, your motorcycle, you have this life, your growing presence on YouTube and social media. So that's a huge, do you ever go back and or have you thought about going back to the prison, maybe becoming like somebody who gives inspirational or motivational talks?
Well, that may come in the future. Because I don't have any problem with that. I actually live close to Huntsville, so that's where most of the prisons are, right here, centrally located in Texas. But I don't have any problem with that. But as far as speaking and speaking tours and all that, that may be starting in my near future. There are other people who have already organized the first Houston convention, and I'll be doing that this fall. And I'm hearing that they want to do one in Florida and some other states as well. So I may be doing that in the near future. I'm gonna let other people organize those. I'll just show up.
Yeah, because obviously you're a great speaker and you can go on for a long time. And, all you need is a single question and you can go on and on. So you're the perfect type of speaker, and you're pretty motivational when you do speak, very encouraging.
Thank you.
Can we do maybe another 15 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Kurt was listening to you. He's a viewer on my channel. He listens pretty closely to all the guests I have, and he says he talks about he talked about the Great Pyramid before. He says, Jason says that when the Great Pyramid flash burned, the new protocol into the simulacrum, there was nothing AIX could do about it. But I thought he said earlier than that is what created AIX. So I'm confused there. I don't know if you understood.
Yeah, I understand. The entire pyramid project was built in response to the introduction of AIX. AIX is the problem that was dealt with. Now, the exact protocol that was uploaded when the architecture was activated, I personally believe was Trojan programming. It was something that was going to take effect in the far future, but had no immediate effect whatsoever.
Okay. I'm just going to try to go through these questions as fast as possible. I'm not going to really comment too much on them. Okay. This one's a little controversial. I hope you don't mind controversy.
I don't mind.
Okay. JK is frequently comments on my channel. And JK said, Jason, you are a very dangerous man because you believe most Asians are NPC. And so when the system purges them, it's no real loss. I believe you are therefore condoning mass genocide. What is your response to that, Jason?
Well, one, I've never been to Asia, but I did a podcast with a guy who lives in China, and he sent me an email and assured me that there are a lot of people in Asia. But I speak from things that I either know or suspect. I said, but I've also admitted that I'm wrong. Now, is there 1/4 of the entire world's population in the geophysical confines of China? I don't know. I'm not there. I haven't counted them. I don't know. But it's I don't support genocide at all, but I don't have any evidence that the world's population is near as massive as we're told.
I'll ask his question by to be determined, or TBD. Why would the elites know about the Phoenix? And do they vibrate at, quote unquote, your dead frequencies? And if you die, why does it matter anyway if we live in a construct?
That's a few questions there. Let's see. Why do the elites know about the Phoenix is not anything I can answer. But that they do, I've already provided the evidence. One of them is Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma about the 33 degrees of Freemasonry. He freely shares in that gigantic book all the symbolism and interprets the symbolisms for the first 32 degrees. But when it comes to the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, Albert Pike reveals no details. And if you look at the very back page of Morals and Dogma that's titled the 33rd degree, all you have is a picture of the phoenix. That's it. I have shown that in 1764, when the Phoenix episode happened, all the things that happened in the world then in 1902, the elite hide from this. And then when it passes, they unleash all their new stuff in the world. Now, I've gone into great detail about 1902 and everything that was released in the world after that Phoenix Pass. I have not revealed a lot about 1764, but off the top of my head, I can tell you about 1764. There was two major changes that happened in the world in that exact year, as soon as the Phoenix passed. One of them was, as soon as the danger was over, the Industrial Revolution started with full force in the year 1764. The other thing about 1764 that's very interesting is this is the beginning of the controversy of the 13 colonies against the crown, which is interesting because after 1764 to 1801, we had the collapse of monarchy after monarchy after monarchy, like a new world order had been implemented that decided that there was going to be no more kings and queens outside of London.
Well, this kind of question by Sarah R. kind of ties into this. She says, great interview. Could you go more into what the vapor period is? Actually, she has something that ties into this, but I'll continue with the question here. Also, you mentioned that this would be the big event in 2040. Does that mean the elites won't be able to hide underground this time? That we won't be reset and can finally break free?
Well, whether a bunch of them are taken out entirely depends on if their plans work. And that main plan is to get the entire world's population vibrating on such negative base visceral frequencies that the Phoenix will target them instead of probing deeper for where the elite are hiding. This is all about frequency. This is why we have the media. The media is designed to get the population to fear. Didn't matter if it was Y2K, the Y2K passed, nothing happened. All these strange diseases come and they come and go. Nothing happens. All these fear-monger things, all this stuff that's released by the media that could happen never happens, but we fear it anyway. Just like German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, he even commented on this. He says, we spend our lives existing in the fears that we fantasize and never come to fruition. So this is what the media does. It gets us to fear. And when something doesn't come to pass that the media has predicted, it doesn't matter because the media has already gone on to the next fear prediction and you're focused on that. And when it doesn't come to pass, they've already moved on to the other ones, and they're steady dropping all these little tidbits that get you to paint pictures. They've never said anything about the WEF is going to take over the world and implement Agenda 2030. The media has never said that. What they've done is provided all these little tidbits for you to build the picture of what's going on, so they can remain innocent of it and say, man, we never said that. We never said they were going to kill a whole world's population down to 500 million people. We never said that. But what the media does is genius. They produce through alternate media sources, through multimedia, through agents of the media, through the basically gatekeepers, and they reveal the tidbits in mass media, commercial media, for you to build the necessary pictures for you to believe that these great and terrifying events are being designed for you. It doesn't matter if it's concentration camp plans of FEMA all throughout America, and next month half the population is going to be in re-education camps. It doesn't matter. We've heard every single fear theory, and none of them have come to pass. You're still living the life that you're living. This has been going on for almost 60 years now, and people still aren't waking up that this is a game, that this is to get you to vibrate on certain frequencies, and it's going to get worse and worse. All this weird shit that's going on that we can't make any sense of, we can't make any sense of it because that's not the point. The point is for you to fear. And if it has to confuse you, if it has to do whatever it has to do to get you vibrating on the more visceral deals so that you will accept that as a normalcy of your existence, that you wake up every morning glued to the new fear porn on television. Because they can get the whole population to buy into this whole fear porn and vibrate on that frequency and accept that as normal mode of living. When the Phoenix comes, it will hone in on them because Phoenix targets frequencies.
So the collective media then, are they part of like the AIX protocol to instill this fear and evil in society?
AIX is served by a small group of people, is what I believe. Those small groups of people own everything in the world. So essentially, I can say yes to your question, but I just think it's more complicated than that. I think AIX is the grand influencer, but it's human agency that's putting out all this disinformation and all this fear porn.
Okay. Let's do like two more questions here. This is a kind of unrelated question, but R Quadruple 8 asks, I would like to know Jason's thoughts on astrology and tarot. Can you give us just like maybe a few minutes of your thoughts on that?
Well,
I know you've probably talked ad nauseum about it on your channel, right?
I don't really talk about astrology. Only when I answer questions like this. Astrology isn't really on my radar. I'm a believer, and that's only because I was made to believe. I initially never thought it had any power. It wasn't relevant to me at all until I read a book from 1893, a very small book called Influence of the Zodiac on Human Life. When I read Gemini, June 9th, it floored me. I said, man, there's no way. Even my character faults, even the very things I wouldn't admit to somebody else that are a part of my character makeup are in this book. I said, how's this possible? So I put the book down and then came back to it and I said, you know what? My initial reaction was probably an overreaction. So I came back to the book and I started from the beginning and I read the other 11 horoscope signs that are in this book from 1893. And when I read those, I was convinced that it was legit because my own personality makeup does not fit any of those 11 signs, but it fit Gemini to a T and June 9th, which was more specific. So I'm a believer, but then again, from a simulated context, it just means that we have coding that can be interpreted optically that's in the stellosphere. That doesn't mean that there's actual planets out there moving. That doesn't mean anything. What it means is as soon as an avatar is occupied by an immortal soul, that avatar and many of its character traits are programmed at that exact instant. And that programming has everything to do with when or where the stellar star is in position when that person is not born, but conceived. So I essentially, there's no difference between the interpretation I have through simulation theory of the value of astrology and if we actually live in a heliocentric system and the value of astrology attached to that. There is no distinction.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is from OKC, who asks, what about the second coming of Christ in human form? Is there going to be a second coming?
Well, I'm not a Christian, although I was for the first 40 years of my life. I don't know about second coming, but I do believe in the return of the chief cornerstone, which is Christians have basically borrowed the older prophecies of the Gnosis and the Orphic faith of the ancient Greeks and the Ionians and the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians, where they believed that God was in the form of a stone like the Bin in the mansion of the Phoenix in Heliopolis, ancient Egypt. And in the last days, this stone will fall from heaven and begin the stone kingdom and set all things to right after a great holy war and all that. Well, these are basically Christians have adopted this in their Battle of Armageddon. They've adopted this in the return of Jesus on a white horse coming down from the sky. All these things, but some of the elements of the Gnostic prophecies are found in the New Testament, such as when God returns to earth, he is the stone the builders rejected. This is an inference of the Great Pyramid, which is missing its capstone. This is why he is called the head of the corner. That's the capstone. He is the chief cornerstone, which is also the capstone. When he descends, it will be upon the finished monument of man, meaning the number of the souls is made complete. The elect are finalized. They are finalized when the last 144,000 of them are killed in the apocalypse. This completely finishes the architecture. Then the monument of man is ready to receive its cornerstone. The chief cornerstone descends and begins the stone kingdom. It is basically the stone. It's basically the return of the Logos, the Word. This is which Jesus does fulfill. I hate to talk about the eschatology in terms of Jesus and all that, because I have a whole playlist called The Dark Scriptures that break down the whole Jesus deal and how it's actually a construct built from all the best material from the ancient world, all the ideas of God. It is not a singular belief and never was. It is put together from all the best materials that were in existence 2,000 years ago. And so yes, there's truth in it, but maybe not exactly in the way that you think. It's I just have to defer people to that playlist.
Yeah. Anytime you want to just say it's on my playlist, I'm okay with that. You could just give a very brief response like that.
Yeah, well, the question is actually the one that interests me profoundly. But the problem is, in answering it, we'll be here another 3 hours. It's a tremendous amount of data that is attached to the end of the world, the prophecies, and putting all these things back into their proper perspectives. But it has everything to do with the collapse of AIX, the complete defeat of AIX taking it down. But in defeating AIX in the year 2106, which is the 6,000th year of the Annus Mundi calendar, which this is the return of the chief cornerstone. It's all easily datable, and I show this on my channel. I show all the chronology, how it works out. So how it's all also found in the rectilinear measurements, scientific measurements of the Great Pyramid. So in 2106, AIX is dealt with. It is collapsed, but there's still another problem. That problem is that the Phoenix phenomenon is still going on, but it's no longer needed. So that's what the Trojan programming was. The flash burn that happened in the vapor canopy world when the pyramid was activated for a few seconds and uploaded this Trojan protocol. Now, in the future, once the chief cornerstone is here, the Great Pyramid will be activated a second time. This is your second coming. When that happens, then the Phoenix phenomenon is collapsed as well. AIX is gone. The Phoenix phenomenon is gone. It's no longer needed. Then there's going to be a period until the year 2178. And I know that's a very arbitrary number, but you'll have to see the data sets to understand how that is derived and what that means in context of all the calendars in the ancient world. 2178 is the exact year the entire simulacrum collapses. It is the year that he sets the captives free. So this is another major tenet of eschatology, that God entered his own construct to set the captives free. And it's all mathematically laid out. It's a beautiful construct, but it's very difficult for people to conceptualize until they see the data sets. That's why I have so many videos.
I wouldn't be a good interviewer if I ended on this note. I mean, this is a great note, but I need to know what happens when this simulacrum ends. That's it. It's over. Consciousness, our real selves can't enter this one anymore. It's gone, but there's 10,000 others. Is that something like what it would be?
Well, I believe there's a period when we go back to our real reality and we instantly recognize each other because we all know each other outside the construct. But now we have a testimony that no one else can share because only a limited number of immortals were allowed inside the Nemesis simulacrum. This one was very unique. We have this divine testimony. This is why you find in the prophetic text that we are a special, we are basically being prepared as priests and kings for some type of future kingdom, some type of future world. We'll be like divine envoys that will be able to tell others in other civilizations outside the construct of experiences that we had that they could only fathom. They could barely even imagine. The testimonies that we will have will be fundamentally different, and we'll be back home, and we'll be able to share this with a lot. And then the opportunity will arise once we're tired of being at home to, you know what, let's jump into our next adventure.
Yeah. It really comes all the way back around from beginning to end. That was perfect. So, someone said from my channel that you're a national treasure. I have to agree. There's nobody like you out there. We're all unique, but the way that you say these things and what you know